taking ultimate accountability over your life is the biggest and best thing you'll ever do. And it's probably the scariest thing you'll ever do too, because ultimately it's on you.
Welcome to the Coast Podcast. I'm Emily, a virtual assistant agency owner who left Amazon in 2019 to build my dream.
And I'm Whitney, a freelance writer and communications consultant who never felt at home in a cube farm.
We wanted to learn from people who paved their own ways like we did. So we created this podcast to talk to others who are brave enough to pick a different path. Creatives, entrepreneurs, people doing their careers and their lives their way.
Join us as we make new friends, get inspired, and show you beautiful paths less traveled.
Not every road leads to the coast, but the ones that do come with a great view.
Recording in progress. My name's Emilie Given, and I own a virtual assistant agency in Linwood, Washington. You are listening to the Coast Podcast if you didn't know that already. And I've introduced myself, and I'm going to let Whitney introduce herself.
Hey, I'm Whitney Popa. I own a communications consultancy in Edmonds, Washington. And today we are back with Kim Knievel, who was one of our top 5 most downloaded episodes ever. So you obviously love her and have learned a lot from her. And this is a series that we do once in a while where we bring people back for a Where Are They Now? And so much has happened in Kim's life that we are going to allow her to introduce herself and catch you up on all the things that have been going on in her world. So welcome back, Kim.
Hi, gals. I'm so happy to be here with you and your amazing vibey audience. I'm Kim Knievel for those who are new. To me, I own a communications, events, and spiritual business consultancy where I primarily focus on the Akashic records, and my focus is on helping people connect with purpose and meaning and infusing more purpose and meaning and joy into their lives.
Okay, there's already new information there.
Yeah, you practice that. That's a key message.
That just flowed, actually. Full transparency. This is like part of what's shifting is this inner trust. And here's the irony, like I can help pull that out of people, but I had to go on my own journey of tapping into that myself. So I think we often follow the medicine and create the things that we need to learn the most from. And plot twist, I thought I was setting up a business to support others, but the business supported me and has helped me step into a truer version of myself.
For sure. Like my body just got chills.
Last time we talked to you, you were doing Akashic Records reading and human design, right?
Mm-hmm.
Readings, and you're still working at a corporate job. So much has changed. Fill us in. Fill us in. Where you are now. Like I know your location's changed. Like tell me all the things that are new in your life.
Yeah. So what I want to say first is just, I really believe that people come into our lives that we need at the right, perfect time. If we're open, I think there's this, if we're present to what's happening on around us, the right teachers, the right situations, and the right opportunities the doors will open, but it requires us stepping through the door to begin with. So last time we chatted with you guys, I was actually pregnant with our son. I'm now a mom. We relocated from San Francisco to Berkeley. I'm no longer working in the corporate world. I am officially all in on my business and taking care of our son. And I've really stepped into owning, this is what's funny when we go through different cycles and different transitions in our life. When I first stepped partway back from the corporate world, I didn't want anything to do with communications in my professional life that I was creating for myself. I wanted to completely segment. I thought that there wasn't really a place for that communications counsel that I cultivated as my career. I was like, nope, you can go in the closet. And I wanted to focus fully on the Akashic records. And that was super beautiful. And that wasn't true to everything that I can bring to the table. And so part of really what I've been sitting with is how do we integrate all of these different parts of ourselves and all of our different experiences to create our own offering that we bring to the world. And when I say offering, like, yes, that can mean business offering, but really I just mean what you bring to your life, how you show up for your community, how you show up for your friends, how you show up for your family. There's really not a division between your work and your life. And I had to figure that out for myself. Even if I said that, I like knew that, right? You like know that. But when you know, and I got my hand in my heart as I'm saying this, you need to know this, that there is no difference. You need to break down the really the walls that you create between my work, my life, who I am as a mom, who I am as a friend. And that's the journey that I've been on. Motherhood has been extremely humbling in that way. It really has forced me, like, there is no boundary. There's not a boundary. So I've had to integrate and let it all flow together.
Yes, you're at my level now.
Yes. And I have to say, I really have to say, the three of us did an event. And I think part of what both of you do with your podcast and your individual businesses and everything that you create together, you really call people into the light. And when I say call people into the light, that sounds all like flowy and magic, but you can be confronting. And I mean that in the best way. Both of you are catalyst kind of people, or you're like, I see something in you. It's time to step up and own your worth. And through the process of the event together, there was a couple of exchanges where both of you were like, hello, like, you're not seeing your worth. Like, why are you second guessing yourself? And I feel comfortable saying, like, I was second guessing myself. I was starting to embody this new version of myself. My son was 8 months old and I needed that tough love. And so when I talked about originally, like, we call in the teachers that we need, both of you have been teachers and catalysts to me of like, you got something, let's go. Like, stop second guessing yourself and just go for it. So I'm happy to report, I think I might have even said this on the last podcast. I was the recovering perfectionist. The perfectionist is dead. She gone.
Good. Yes.
And
Motherhood will do that to you.
Yeah.
But also,
right. Yeah. So thank you truly to both of you for having me back, but also just you've played a huge role in my life and my development as a business owner and as a mom and as a human, which to the point I made previously, there's no difference in all of the roles.
Thank you for being open to it too, because we would talk to each other like, are we being too pushy with Kim? And then we realized, like, well, she played soccer, so she's used to people being hard on her. And we weren't really hard. We were just like, Kim, believe it, you know?
Yeah.
Also, I just specifically remember you and I having like a conversation, like a one-on-one, and like, I'm like, what if you explored this? And like, there is a way to put your professional like background into this, and like, you just have to figure out a way to integrate it. So it makes me really excited and happy that you have done that. Like, that's so cool.
And the thing that I get really pushy about with people too, everyone, especially people who are just starting their businesses, or even if you're more established, I think the best marketing thing you can do for yourself is figure yourself out, and you providing these various levels of support that you can do. And I'm excited to hear you want to do communications too, because you can support people like, here's who you are, here's how you need to communicate, and I can help you get there. That's amazing. And so many of us, like, if you do not do the foundational work of figuring yourself out when you are the business, then you will be more trapped in inauthenticity because you'll be chasing what somebody on Instagram says you should be doing. And that's fine if you test it and you find that it works for you, but why not skip ahead and get like a human design and or Akashic Records reading to figure out what's meant for you, and then know upfront before you even have to waste time or money trying these things, to be like, oh, well, this is who I'm meant to be. This is how I'm meant to be in the world. Let me try these. And more likely than not, they will feel very good to you. So, and then you can go and help them with any communication support too. I just love that. Tell us a little bit more about like what that looks like for you now, how you're making your business make sense.
Yeah. Well, the thing I wanted to say in response to the work that you're talking about, it just doesn't stop. I think I had in my head, I've done so much deep inner work that this is totally arrogant, but I was like, oh, I'm good. It stopped. It does not stop. Like and that's exciting. That's not meant to be, that shouldn't scare anyone. It's an exciting journey if you look at it as such of, I'm going to meet myself in all the new chapters that I come to. So as I was sitting with it, I had a couple of mentors that were actually like, why are you not, like, you're leaving money on the table. I actually met a woman who is combining the records and communications, and I saw it was possible. And I'm a huge believer in expanders, and I just hadn't found, I had started to, you two are absolutely that for me, but I needed to kind of see it. I needed to see what was possible of like, even just an inkling so that I could put my own touch and flavor on it. So I've just started blindly reaching out to people. I'm a manifester in human design, and I recognized I was sitting back and waiting for opportunities to come to me, waiting for clients to come to me. Instead, I've reached out to people like, hey, are you looking for communication support? And it's led to a couple leads that we'll see. I'm really digging into real estate investing now and wanting to understand that. So I'm also using it as a means to connect with people. I'm in this state now of like, I'm growing my community, Whitney and Whitney and Emilie. I know you both have like really focused on growing community authentically over the past couple of years. And so that's sort of the space I'm in. As far as what I'm doing with communications, it's like bios and ghostwriting editorials, like blog posts. I provided some internal communications counsel. So I'm just playing within the places that work for me too. I'm not doing any kind of crisis communications. That is not what I want to be doing. I want long lead projects where I'm very clear on the expectations and the deadlines that I can work accordingly. I'm not going to be answering emails at odd hours of the night. And I think that's also really important. That was a really important thing for me to understand. Like, oh, communications does not mean being connected 24/7, because that just won't work with the time that I'm in. And then the events piece of this, I've always done corporate events, offsites, retreats. And some of these things have just naturally fallen into my lap of planning a blessing way ceremony for one of my girlfriends. Like right now, it's been just kind of social situations of testing it out. But I think the further that we dip into this technologically advancing world with AI and everything, which I'm not a purist, like I'm very much, I like technology. However, I do think that we're going to need to introduce more in person into our lives as an antidote for the technology. So that's kind of the events and communications piece, which is brand new to since we last connected.
Yeah, agreed. That's awesome. And you had a new Akashic Records offer as well, the mini bite size.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you.
And we can both speak to those experiences too. I'm so
Oh,
excited about it.
oh my gosh, I would love to hear about your experiences. And this is also something that's shifted. I was doing them, and I did it like when I was early postpartum as a means to connect, keep myself connected to the practice. And I do them when I was on walks with my baby or in odd hours of the night when I would get, breaks. But here's what I realized. I'm still going to be offering the mini recorded messages, but it's really the intimacy and depth of conversation that I personally enjoy and get so much fulfillment out of. So it was almost like I think they're powerful. I really do. And I'm excited to share some of the offers that I have coming that will be launched by the time that this podcast goes live. But I want the depth of conversation. I know there's business opportunity, but if I really fundamentally believe if something is not sparking joy in you, then it's going to have a shelf life, especially for me. I won't follow through with it if I don't derive the same joy. So I started these mini recorded messages as they're like little mini podcasts. People can submit a question or a topic they're interested to explore. And in return, they get a 15-minute or so exploration where I open records on my own time. You can listen on your own time. You can take it on the move with you. This was really birthed from spending a lot of time on my feet and on walks with my baby. So it was really authentic to the time that I was in. And they're great for people, I think, who already have some kind of a spiritual practice. I would be very curious to hear, you both have experienced both of my, like a live reading and the recording. But I think they're more for going deeper or like continuing to explore other nooks and crannies. They're not necessarily for people who have never experienced it. And well, I will say this, they're for like a good teaser. They're a good teaser, or they're for depth of continuing to explore, in my opinion.
Yeah, I love them. And I said this to you too. I loved them because they were frustratingly validating. So like I've said before, I channel pretty much every morning. I haven't been as good lately as far as like the depth of my connection, and the messages that I get are just very consistent. So that frustrates me. And that's why your readings, your mini readings frustrated me, because it was the same things that I was already getting. And part of me, like, and I've read this before, when you first start going deep into your spiritual practices, it feels like you're getting a lot of ahas, a lot of purple hippos, a lot of, oh my gosh, it's all happening, a lot of big downloads. And then once you're connected all the time, it's not as dramatic and exciting. And so it's a little bit more of, you're hearing your own voice and you're able to discern what's your highest self and what's just a thought in your head. And that's where I've been at for a long time. And so when I get a validating message from Kim, I'm like, fucking A, like I want to get something new and juicy, but that's not really where I'm not going to get those as often anymore. And I love them because it really validates, okay, you're not, sometimes I'll be like, oh, you're not as deep in your practice, like I said today, where I'm like just sitting in my office close to my computer or whatever. And so I feel like, oh, you're not in the middle of the woods, like sitting on a rock and really going deep into your meditation like you want to be. So how deep can you go just sitting in your office with the kids probably getting up? And then I get the Kim reading and I'm like, yep, it's exactly what I've been getting every day anyway. So I'm not out of tune. It's just, this is where I'm at in my message right now. And I need to be beat over the head with the same thing until I accept it, I guess. So that's what I love. And you use different language that helps me explain things better, or understand myself better too. You're really, really talented at how you use language, especially in those readings. I've just found them to be beautiful and frustrating and validating. And I mean frustrating in the most positive way.
You're incredible. I thank you for that. And it is maddening when you begin a spiritual journey and those magic moments. Like it feels like, to me at least, you go from seeing the world in black and white to all of a sudden like, what? There's color and there's sparkles and I'm seeing things that I never witnessed before. And the deeper you go, I think the more you get kind of tested in beautiful ways. I think that my experience of a spiritual practice is you get dropped in further and further and further, and life will give you what you need with it. And so staying committed and staying committed to a practice, especially when you're just, dang it, like, give me something more than stay. I think what yours was something like, like keep focused on what you're doing, basically, like keep your head down and keep grinding or something in different language. But it's like, really, like, can't I look up and find the magic potion and take the pill and get the antidote? And it's like, no, staying committed. And this is really like blending the athlete part of me. You mentioned me being an athlete and tough love, like consistency and discipline. And a lot of people don't like the word discipline. I like the word, like, I'm kind of reshaping my relationship with this. It's devotion. Is devoted action and consistency is how we get where we want to go. And of course,
really like that shift, like a lot, like a lot.
I can't take
wow,
credit.
I'm going to
Peter
use
Kelly, if you're curious, a fellow manifester, her name is Peter Kelly. I saw this. She said this, and I was like, yes, right? It's so good.
It's a complete shift.
I'm tired of devoted action. I'm still getting that message.
And I completely need devoted action because I am super gifted in that way, like 100%. However, I have no devotion to it, so I have not developed it. But I know that when I do, watch out, world.
I mean, I'm excited to see what's coming if you haven't applied devoted action yet and you've already built everything that you've built. Let's freaking go.
Seriously. And then, so my bite-sized reading was amazing too, in a different way. Like it was somewhat like, yes, along the lines of like something I already knew, but it took me a while to explore it. And something you said was like, how can you expand by using a model that you currently use in your business? And I just sat on it for a while. I had some ideas about it, and I just actually launched at the beginning of, was it this week or last week? Last week, officially staffing and recruiting for admin positions. So like that includes in person. And I was already doing it. I don't know what the holdup was, but I officially launched it. And so I'm really
diving into that now, but I was like, yeah, Kim told me to do that. And you know what? I'm going to go back and I have all of my spiritual readings saved from everyone I've ever done over the last like 5 years with you, with other readers. And so I think that'd be really fun to just like sit down and do a day where I just like listen and reflect and write and like see what happened and just really use those readings to, I guess, yeah, reflect is the word. But yeah, I'm gonna go back and listen to yours especially too, because like I just made that really direct correlation. Like Kim said that,
Yeah.
duh. Like,
And tell Kim about who pushed you over the edge.
oh,
The
this is so
teacher.
random too. My teacher?
Well, a teacher who presented at the right time, like a life teacher.
Oh, a life teacher. I was like, what? Confused. So my sister has a girlfriend, Jen, and they have been dating for, I don't even know. I won't even say it out loud because I don't know, but not a short period of time, but not super long, right? So we've started spending more time. Like Jen's coming to family events now in school. And she's like, I stalked you. I'm like, you did? That's cool. She's like, I know what you do. I'm like, cool. She's like, did you know that I used to own a private staffing and admin recruiting agency? And I was like, excuse me, what?
What?
And this was just at Sunday dinner, not Sunday, Saturday dinner last weekend. And I was like, excuse me? And so just like my whole world open. I'm like, one, somebody understands me at the family gathering. And two, like, what? I could learn a lot from you. And I was like, I would love to meet sometime and do a consult with you. And then I sat back and I just like realized like, I don't need a consult. Like I want her perspective very badly and I'm going to meet with her, but like, this is awesome. I'm just going to go for it. And I published my website like the next day. So it was like a really good push and a really good message. And I told her, I was like, I feel like I've been waiting to go forever. And the universe in our conversation said, go.
Oh my gosh, congratulations. That's amazing. That's such a good example of like the teacher showing up in the unexpected place and having the presence to either like even having the presence to be in the conversation because the teacher can also be in front of us, but you have to say the right thing to unlock the wisdom, which can just be being there, being present, not being on your phone, like bringing the energy that you need to bring to the conversation. So I love this like unexpected. We're so often, and I'm a big fan of teachers and mentors and going and seeking counsel. But I think we're not giving life credit enough where the teacher or the message will just show up naturally when we bring ourselves. So I'm so excited for both of you. It's been so fun to watch your success too in the last year since I've been on the podcast and to experience the energy in person too, what you're creating. It's just, I think our possibilities are really limitless. And it really is about, can we believe enough in ourselves and not only just believe in ourselves, but take I'm going to use it again, devoted action to go after it. Those are two different things. You can believe it, but without the action, it sits in a notebook.
Mm-hmm. I want to know how
Wait,
that.
did you say sits in a notebook? I literally have like, that's so funny. That's my thing. Like I have 20 notebooks full of ideas. That's so funny that you said notebook. That's
Okay,
me.
I'll take
to a
that
T.
as a sign. Go back in your notebook and see what's
Okay,
there.
okay. Yeah,
There's
for
probably
real.
a
I'm going. Okay. Dang.
Kim brought the magic. I want to know too how that transition out of corporate felt for you. Like, was it a little bit of an ego death? Did you find yourself being like, I've wrapped my identity kind of in this? What was that part of life for you? Because I know you went on a big Italian vacay around that time as well.
Yeah. Okay. So full transparency, I'm going to take you back a little bit before the stepping back from corporate. My son was born in January. I felt very much in my intuition and in my body for birth and pregnancy. It was like magical for me, and I'm super grateful for that. So it was the beginning of his life. I would strap him to me. I started working, I think 3 months after he came. I would strap him to me. We had a fireplace and I like mantle, and I would sit and work, and it was perfect. Just wow, I've figured it all out. This is amazing. I'm doing it. Here we are. And every challenge that came, I was kind of like, it's okay. Like I found a way to do the readings. I found a way to do the corporate work. I'm cruising. The summer hits. The summer hits. And Full transparency, and I think it's super important to be open. I was laid off from my corporate job is what happened. I think the universe comes in and shakes stuff up if
You
you're
need
not
to
willing
go.
to. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's time to go. I was on a second maternity leave and wasn't expecting to get an email that day from the HR team, and I was laid off the day before I was supposed to go on the big Italian vacation. And this was shortly, I think, after having done the event with you. So this is like, there were little seeds and breadcrumbs of like, we're going to push you. We're going to push you. And so went on this magical Italian vacation. And it just so happened the day before I left for that vacation, the day that I got laid off from the corporate job, I connected with the woman who had the communications and Akashic Records consultancy. So here came this mentor into my life on the day that I got laid off, right before like what ended up being a magical Italian vacation. So I got severance, super grateful for that. Really grateful for the experience. It was totally, I did not understand how much it affected my ego, even if it wasn't, I knew it wasn't the right situation for me. Again, I went from having a full team to, I took a step back to work part-time. They had offered me that part-time position to getting laid off from said part-time position that they created for me to stick around with the business. Whoa. I just want to take a breath at that. Like it's almost like a pendulum shift. I still believe in the corporate world. I think there's good to be had in the corporate world. I'm not anti-corporate. However, I am seeing the ways that you can be really good at the corporate game and that impacts your ability to be an entrepreneur and a business owner. I think those are two completely different skill sets. And so part of what you two helped me to understand is all the bad habits that I created of like needing to check in or like,
Yep.
is this the right decision? When really I need, if you get quiet with yourself, with a journal or have a good conversation with a friend, like,
Mm-hmm.
And so my world transparently turned totally upside down in the fall. And I wanted to be honest about this. I kind of went back and forth of like, do I share this? All of a sudden, like the confidence that I had with being a new mom went out the window. Like our baby wasn't sleep. Yeah. Yeah.
Why wouldn't you share that? What's your hesitation about not sharing? Like, what feelings does that bring up?
Well, I think this is part of like the business owner thing that I thought. And this is where I want to be so honest. And this is part of, I think like part of the gifts that I bring when I do readings for people is most of the time I hear people leave feeling light, like a little sparkly, a little like full of possibility. And it's because I create a safe space for people. I really truly can see the good in all people. And I see the possibility and the purpose and I mirror it back. That is my gift. That's like why I'm good at communications. That's why I'm good at readings, full stop. I had to do that. Like I wasn't comfortable to do that myself. I was trying to be the business owner that like presented this particular image to the point where like my words wouldn't even come out right sometimes because I thought like it had to look a certain way. But now I'm just like, that's why I want to own the story of like, this is what happened. You don't reach a certain part of your life and just it's done and you're done with the work. And this is where like motherhood has been the most, I will say, magical, confronting catalyst for me to really fully own. Like you're taking care of another human now. You're waking up in all hours of the night. You're getting up and doing your job when, frankly, sometimes I don't want to get up to do the poopy diaper in the morning and it's completely, or in the middle of the night. And it's completely shifted my perspective on what spirituality is and really what it is to have a life of purpose and meaning. What that means. It's the commitment to the things that you're doing. This was a bit of why I didn't want to share. I think I was worried that would diminish my credibility if I didn't look like I had it all together. And I think a lot of people, and especially women, hold this belief when really, I'm not saying go be a hot mess everywhere you go, but I think there is some like vulnerability that can be introduced as it relates to women business owner, just business owners in general, not even the women, but in motherhood too. I'm really finding like if I'm having a struggle, I'm talking about it.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, you can't hide.
You can't hide. You can't hide. And frankly, you'll drive yourself mad if you do try to hide. And so all of a sudden, the apartment that we were living in San Francisco wasn't the right place. I knew, oh my God, we had to get out of the city. We moved out of the city. The corporate job ended. We're like inhabiting this, I'm figuring out my relationship. I'm figuring out who I am in my body as a woman and as a mom. I'm figuring out who I am as a wife. My husband is figuring out who he is as a dad. It was like our foundation got ripped out from under us and we had to rebuild the foundation. And I'm really grateful for the fortitude that I had to like figure it out, because you have to figure it out. And here's the other really important thing that I wanted to share is like, you'll repeat a pattern until you solve it in your body. So part of why I took a step back in the birth of my business was because I burnt myself out so badly that I had a series of panic attacks that led me deeper into my spiritual pursuit, which then led me to create my business. I did the same thing in motherhood. I was taking care of my son full time, trying to do everything, and I totally burnt myself out. And I had a friend mirror this back to me of like, you realize that you just did exactly what you did in the corporate world, but now like the topic is motherhood, right? I was like, like it just continues. And so can we have the grace and the humility to just like own it and to talk about it? And Emilie, I really appreciate the question so that I could share this reflection, because it really is like, this is one of the fundamental shifts. And I think where my confidence really derives from, not trying to hide.
Yeah.
Because I'll get in the mess with you too. We're going to get in the mess together. I'm more of a teammate than a coach. And I'm going to remind you what you're made of, and we're going to get after it.
Yeah. And when you're a performer too, I've been kind of with myself evaluating, why are you so obsessed with like sports documentaries? You're not an athlete. And for me, it's the elite performer in me, in anybody, and seeing that in you too. And a lot of that is, it's a very fine line of the external validation that you get from that. And to have this internal business that you're also working in this world of external validation that you've had your whole life too. It's this collision of worlds that probably brings up a crisis of faith at some point as well. And even for me, like I've had, as obsessed as I am with performance and performers, I've had to take that from outside to inside and find, what is your definition? Who are you? And even every week, I've been talking about this more and more. I'm changing my schedule to fit how I need and what I need for my family and how I work, versus when first 3 years of my business, I was like 9 to 5, this is my hours. And then I would be upset if I had to work outside of that. And now I'm just like, you know what? We need to be fluid, because like you said, everything flows together and I'm the boss and I decide. But I was still working within these confines that I had been validated by before. And you don't just undo that. And you'll discover more and more as you continue on your path too. But I mean, shit, you've done a lot.
God, it's like all the stories we hang on to, right?
Yeah.
And I've always been obsessed with stories. Like Disney kid through and through. Like I still, if I have an hour, like I'll put my nose in a book. Like that's what I want to do, spend time with myself. But the kind of like shadowy side of being so obsessed with stories is, and in general, humans, we are meaning makers, we are story makers. We hold all these stories that we might not realize need a rewrite. And you need to have the guts to, like, a story that served you previously might be the exact story that's to your detriment. So this 9 to 5 and like the rigor and is that serving you?
Totally.
Like for me, I was spending way too much time on spiritual work, and what I needed was to get back in my body. I
Yep.
needed to, like, I'm doing like infrared saunas and cold plunges and red light therapy. Like I need to embody all this wisdom that I had gained. So like, what story are you hanging on to now that's not serving you anymore? With compassion, with grace, with some humor. Like, oh, when I made that parallel with like the corporate burnout and the motherhood burnout, I was like, oh, you're sweet. Like you thought that you were done with this. It's not judgmental. It's just like, oh, okay, that's something I need to pay attention to. And can we release the shame around it? That's, I think, part of what we get in this spin cycle is like, if you identify the story or the pattern, not applying shame to it, just noticing, observing, how am I going to work with this now? What do I need? What do I really need?
Something that's been helpful for me too is I have all my inner Whitneys. And when I feel them come up, I talk to them of, oh, I see you here now. Even something kind of silly for me that's not really that silly is like, I was always looking for a bargain. Like, how can I be like, get the designer brands at the rack? Like, maybe I'm not trying to go to the rack as much anymore. Maybe I want to pay for convenience and like spend $180 on VHAs like I did this morning because I've been wanting them for 2 years. And I am that person once in a while now. I'm not the bargain basement girl who's circling the block for parking all the time and feeling anxious about like a parking ticket. Like I need to embody her, and same with like getting into my body and everything. But as much as it's like I'm paying full price for VHAs, it's it's such a big moment for me to do that because I would be waiting for them to go to the rack or whatever and like have a sale or whatever. Even though I did wait, I I was inspired to pull the trigger because there was extra points involved at Nordstrom. I still wasn't looking for extra points and on sale. So I'm talking to her and being like, you don't have to always look for deals now. And if you are, there's a different energy behind it. There's like, here's extra money that I can put towards this or that. So I try to recognize, like, with those stories of, like you said, giving that person grace and also recognizing her and how she showed up for you and protected you and did all these things that have been so instrumental in getting you here to this Kim, who is just so, like, so embodied.
Oh, I love it. That's such a little and big example, the shoes. Because guess what? Every time you put those shoes on your feet and you're walking around, you are going to feel like $1,000,000.
Exactly.
You really are, because like you identify, it's not about the thing. It's never about the thing. It's like the thing that is like the meaning of the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to touch back to what you're talking about, an athlete mentality too. I've had like all of these kind of old phrases and like ways of working that have come back that I'm reintegrating different parts of my life where I'm like, oh, I actually want this. And the one that I've been really hanging on to is play your game. And that's something that I like, I started hearing when I was 7, 8 years old. And my dad would be on the sideline of the soccer game, like, play your game, play your game. And what that means in that context is like, doesn't matter what the other team is doing, doesn't matter what the ref is doing, doesn't matter the weather. Like you show up and play your game, the rest will take care of itself. Doesn't mean you're always going to win. Just to be clear, it doesn't mean you're always going to win, but you rest easy because you leave it on the field. And this player game in this context, like we're so often looking outside of ourselves for the way to do it. Google searching, asking other people, when really, like, if we choose to play our game and play in the way that feels right and authentic to us, and that does not mean it's always going to feel good. This is a shift too. The litmus test and the marker for me is not, does it feel good? Is its meaning. And on the other side of meaning are contentment and joy and purpose. Things are way less fleeting than happiness and feel good. And so I think it's kind of a call for all of us is, what does it look like to you? Like, what schedule do you want to have? What service or offering do you need to have? What time do you want to spend with your kids? If you have kids, do you want to be making dinner? Do you want to DoorDash dinner to your house? Like, being very, very clear with yourself of what does it look like that you actually want?
Mm-hmm. And even not externalizing that outside of our husbands. That's something that meaning I was looking to my husband to like sign off on decisions where I was like, wait, I can just inform you that this is what I'm doing because I know it's the right thing for me and it doesn't really impact us financially in a very big way or whatever it is. I was doing a lot of that without realizing it. And that's something that I've come to know over time too, as I've gotten more comfortable with myself, my business, all sorts of things. Like you said, it's all so intertwined. And I'm like, why am I waiting for him to do this or say yes or like be smarter at this thing that I'm also smart at? Like, there's some like definitely partnership, but then kind of the indexing on like, you need to give me permission. No, you don't.
Whoa, the permission, like in general, looking for that permission slip outside yourself. When you have
Mm-hmm.
that moment of like, I'm the only one who needs to give myself permission.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly.
It's amazing. Like
And it's
freeing.
scary.
Yes.
Freeing and scary. Yeah, we said that
Yes.
at the same time because it is both those things.
Yeah. Both are true. I think, taking ultimate accountability over your life is the biggest and best thing you'll ever do. And it's probably the scariest thing you'll ever do too, because ultimately it's on you. And that's something that motherhood has given me. Like, there's no handbook. There's no one coming in to save you. Like, you have to figure it out and you create the support team around you accordingly. And it's really something that I've brought to business. And I look at life now, like, what do I actually need to fulfill these roles that I'm really looking to fulfill in the way that I want to?
For sure. Yeah. So what are some of the offers that you have right now?
So the biggest thing I'm excited about is I'm going to be relaunching live readings. I'm only going to have a couple a week. So I'm really, really excited. This is like part of the business thing that was really, sorry, what'd you say?
I said, save me a spot.
You two always have a spot. I think it's also really important to have a business that fits the context of your life. So right now, I know fundamentally I want my son to be my main focus. So I need to be mindful about the way that I'm bringing things out into the world. So having the discipline and boundaries around, it's going to be a couple of readings a week. And my goal is not to get as many readings as possible. It's really to draw in the type of people who want my flavor of magic, because I'll remind you of your flavor of magic. So the live readings, I'll have a couple of times a week and super excited about that. I'm also going to have a membership where I'm going to have this blend of live readings. We'll start with a live reading and then into recorded messages from there. That checks the box for me of I want the deep and intimate conversation. And I primarily believe that if we can have that live situation, it sort of supercharges what will come for the next 2 months, which is 2 of those recorded messages. So it's really for people that want to have that deep spiritual dive and then want to continue exploring either what we touch on in the reading, or you're like, got it, I can move on to new topics, but it keeps people in a container with me that I'm going to call a season. And this is playing on the athlete part of me. I know the power from my work and my life and being an athlete of being dedicated for a season. And I'm really looking for people who are committed to go in and are ready and are courageous enough to go after it. And so those are my records, the 2, and we'll see. It continues to iterate. I'm trying to be open to like what feels right to me. I'm using feeling as my litmus test for how I govern my life now in that way. And it's freeing. It feels really good. Like I've always been sort of I feel this, I intuitively believe this. And I was always made wrong for my feelings or told I had too many feelings. And it's like, no, that's my superpower. This is what I feel is right, which means it's what's right for me.
Exactly. And for your group container, do you have a limit on that as far as amount of people, and will they be together? So it'll be a collective reading? Or
no, it's individual reading. So you'll get one individual reading to start with, and then it'll have a monthly charge to it, same monthly charge, but you'll get my live reading at a premium discounted rate. So that's part of the poll too. If you wanted to try the reading and then carry on from there. I am testing out. I've thought more about doing group situations. I've really kind of dabbled with in my head. Do I want to do group readings? Because I think there could be deep power in opening the records in a circle of people and seeing what happens from there. But right now, I think individual growth I think the world needs more of it. I think we're going to continue as a collective and as a world to need to have that level of self-awareness and discernment. And those are 2 of the big things that I talk about as part of my practice is we're helping you cultivate deeper self-awareness and discernment so that you can make the decisions that we've been talking about this whole time of what feels right for you. That's what it's about. I think that shift of like, you want that magical insight, or a lot of people want me to predict the future. I don't predict the future. The records, I'm not a psychic. I'm not a medium. Sometimes ancestors will come in, but it's really more about, are you looking to connect with your inner world? That's what I'm about. It's not fortune telling.
Well, sign me up for your first retreat too, because if you got all those skill sets combined, I'm like, I'll be there.
Yes, it will come. It will come. And I hope you will be one of the first.
Yeah, I still want to come down there. That's why I texted you when I was putting together some client appreciation cards for Leilani's address. Like, you and Leilani collabing on something would be so bougie and fabulous. And I'll say it again, I've said it a million times. I only do bougie retreats, which is why I've not done any retreats, because I need my own room as a mom. I need my own room. I am not sharing. I need my own bathroom. If I'm going to be away from my kids, I need those things. And I know you are a person who is capable of creating that for me eventually. Let's just let you get through this season and open up some things for us again. I'm so excited. And this is like so beautiful. I'm so glad that we got to connect with you again, Kim, and hear everything that's been going on. And thank you for your vulnerability. And there's so much relatability in what you're saying on so many levels. And we love just cheering you on as you're out there and doing your thing, even when it doesn't feel like, what you want it to be or how you thought it would look. We're out there just being like, look at Kim getting closer to herself. And I think that's the ultimate goal.
I so feel it and accept and right back at you. I'm really inspired by the community that you're creating because there's this clear, it's not only community, but cheering each other on in our own individual missions. And I really do truly believe that we all come here with a calling and a purpose. And I think we're quick to want to make that a vocation, but it can be a feeling that you bring to people. And so thank you for being courageous, both of you, and stepping out to create, because you're provoking other people to do the same and gathering there. I think we talked a little bit about technology before, but the more that we dip into this technologically advanced and kind of segmented world on many accounts, the more important it's going to be to go back to ancient rituals like coming around a fire and storytelling and sharing a cup of tea or a glass of wine on occasion and being with one another, like really, really, really being with one another. I think that's the antidote to the future. I really, truly do. So that retreat will happen. I've been holding that intention with Leilani for forever since she launched her business, and have no doubt that you guys will be a part of it too in some capacity.
Oh, I hope so. Kim, tell us where people can find you. Remind them what your URLs are.
Yeah. So the best place is on my website, kimknievel.com. I'm making a conscious decision that Instagram didn't feel right for me. And that was part of the blocker for me with business. It would like get hives, basically. Not really, but when I would go to post something, like it just didn't feel authentic and right to me. So I'm toying around with Substack. So potentially when this launches, and doing things like audio speaking is feeling really good to me. So toying around with audio and Substack, those are the two best places.
Amazing. And to validate you, I've actually been talking about that as well. So the publishing house that I'm going to launch, I don't think I will do an email list in the same way. I think I've been talking about doing a Substack instead. So that's validation that it's definitely percolating in the universe in various capacities. I loved it. It's mixed media-ness of it is really cool. And it sounds to me like the perfect thing. Because right before you started talking, I was thinking, how do I get on her newsletter? How's she going to do a newsletter? Because obviously that would be a great way for you to communicate. And Substack is a perfect container for you. So awesome. I'm so excited for everything that you have going on. Thank you for sharing your time with us and reconnecting.
Thank you.
So good to talk to you, Kim.
You're amazing.
You're amazing.
Your good work. Really, truly. I'm excited for a year from now where all of us are going to be sitting, because I know it will be not even higher, more closely connected to what we came here to do, all of us.
For sure. All right. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Coast, and we will see you next week.